This case study presentation will be analysing the response of Facebook to the Cambridge Analytica data breach crisis. I'll start by sharing some background information about the companies and the people involved. Facebook is a social media company, founded in 2007 by Mark Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg is also Facebook's current CEO and chairman. Facebook's mission statement is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. In responding to the unfolding Cambridge Analytica data breach crisis in 2018, Mark Zuckerberg said, "In 2007, we launched the Facebook platform with the vision that more apps should be social. Facebook thought your calendar should be able to show your friends' birthdays, your map should be able to show where your friends live, and your address book should show their pictures. In order to achieve this, Facebook had to enable people to log into apps and share who their friends were and some information about them with third-party applications. The issue with this is that this sharing of user data was set within the context of Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook's own questionable history surrounding user data. Zuckerberg allegedly hacked the Harvard computer system in order to create an app called FaceMash. FaceMash was a website or an app which used photos of students from various Harvard houses in order to rate who was the hotter person. The site was eventually taken down by Harvard. Zuckerberg was hired by Harvard students Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss and Divya Narendra to develop a social networking site called Harvard Connection. The three claimed Zuckerberg instead was developing his own social media site, the Facebook.com, the predecessor to Facebook.com. In April 2010, Facebook launched a platform called Open Graph to third-party apps. The platform allowed developers outside Facebook to access Facebook users' personal data. But not only did it do this, it also allowed developers to access the friends of users of the app's personal data too, even when those people had given no such consent or had any interaction with the apps at all. The data included usernames, gender, locations, birthday, education, political preferences, relationship status, religious views, etc. When users agreed to additional permissions, external developers were even able to access users' private messages. In 2014, a company called Global Science Research was founded by Cambridge academic Alexander Kogan. The company created an app called This Is Your Digital Life on Facebook. The app made users answer questions to form a psychological profile. The app had 270,000 downloads and it collected information on each of the people who downloaded it. The app not only collected the information of users, but each of their friends' data as well. With 6 degrees of separation, it is not hard to imagine that a large amount of people had their data mined. Cambridge Analytica took the data from Global Science Research and analysed it to understand how best to target information to potential voters in the US presidential election. The company has also been alleged to have provided assistance to the Brexit campaign in the United Kingdom. In 2014, Facebook moved to restrict developers' access to user data, and developers were unable to access users' friends' data without first gaining permission. However, the rules were not retrospectively imposed, and so Kogan and his company Global Research Services did not delete the data that was collected prior to the changes. In late 2015, it was revealed that presidential candidate Ted Cruz's campaign was reported to be using Global Analytica, and the company had harvested the data of millions of unwitting Facebook users. Facebook sought to ban Kogan and Global Science Research's app, This Is Your Digital Life, from the platform. Facebook legally pressured Kogan and Cambridge Analytica to remove all of the data they had gleaned from the app. Facebook claimed that the companies told them that the data was deleted, but Facebook failed to undertake an audit to confirm this. In 2016, there seemed to be a perfect storm brewing for the Facebook and Cambridge Analytica data breach crisis. During the nomination campaign, Surprisingly, both Trump and Cruz remained as candidates up until the convention, both having used Cambridge Analytica's services throughout the nomination process. Trump won the Republican nomination and ultimately the presidency and a majority in both the Congress and the Senate. All the while, Trump rallied against the mainstream media, labeling them as fake news. For many Clinton supporters, the win came as a shock. This was because the voices, the arguments, and the messaging for the Trump campaign occurred outside of the Clinton supporters' news feeds. They were targeted messages that helped ensure people remained in their own echo chambers during the election. It is in this context that the backlash against Cambridge Analytica and Facebook began. The Guardian and other news outlets revealed Cambridge Analytica had worked with the Trump administration and allegedly used the Facebook data of 50 million people. 5 days go by without Facebook or Mark Zuckerberg responding at all. During the 5 days of silence from Facebook, a Delete Facebook campaign began. The Federal Trade Commission opened an investigation into Facebook, and the US lawmakers urged Zuckerberg to testify before Congress. After 5 days of silence, Zuckerberg finally breaks the silence by writing on Facebook, "We have a responsibility to protect your data, and if we can't, then we don't deserve to serve you. I've been working to understand exactly what happened and how to make sure this doesn't happen again." Zuckerberg announced that Facebook would ban app developers accessing data of its users after 3 months without user activity on the apps. He also announced Facebook would like to be seeking to audit all apps with access to large amounts of data before the changes in 2014 to the sharing of users' friends' data. 2 weeks after the crisis began, Zuckerberg apologizes in full-page advertisements in various British and American newspapers for a breach of trust. "I'm sorry we didn't do more at the time. We're now taking steps to ensure this doesn't happen again," he said. Now, this might have worked well had he acted promptly and not waited 5 days before speaking and then 2 weeks before publishing the advertisements. As Kirk Stocker stated, "When you look at the majority of crises, what happened should have been or near the top of the list of possible events. Why wasn't anyone prepared?" For Facebook, information breaches, data, privacy, is their natural crisis. They should have been prepared. They had already been made aware of the issue. They had already dealt with it during the time of Ted Cruz. They could have told the public about actions they had already taken previously, including limiting the data to own users' data and not friends' data. They could have been saying that they accept responsibility and got onto the front foot. But then their spokesperson's questionable past and history of privacy issues, apologies, and pledges to right wrongs may not have assisted in the crisis. In 2004, commenting on the FaceMash app in a letter of an apology, Mr. Zuckerberg wrote, "I hope you understand, this is not how I meant for things to go, and I apologize for any harm done as a result of my neglect to consider how quickly the site would spread and its consequences thereafter. I definitely see how my intentions could be seen in the wrong light." In 2004 again, speaking to a friend on an instant messaging platform regarding the Facebook.com, Zuckerberg wrote, "Yeah, so if you ever need info about anyone at Harvard, just ask. I have over 4,000 emails, pictures, addresses, social networking site." The friend he was speaking to wrote, "What? How'd you manage that one?" Zuckerberg replied, "People just submitted it. I don't know why. They trust me. Dumb expletives." In a 2005 lecture at Harvard University, Zuckerberg said, "We have a lot of stuff that we put in place to make sure that people don't aggregate information off of Facebook. We're obviously really sensitive to people's privacy." In a 2010 op-ed in the Washington Post, Zuckerberg wrote, "Here are the principles under which Facebook operates. You have control over how your information is shared. We do not share your personal information with people or services you don't want. We do not give advertisers access to your personal information." In 2011, in a Facebook note, Zuckerberg wrote, "I'm the first to admit that we've made a bunch of mistakes." In 2013, in response to PRISM, a government spying operation, Zuckerberg said, "We will continue fighting aggressively to keep your information safe and secure." In 2014, during a earnings report, Zuckerberg said, "One of the things that we focused on the most is creating private spaces for people to share things and have interactions that they couldn't have had elsewhere." In 2016, Zuckerberg said, "Facebook stands with many technology companies to protect you and your information." Then in 2018, Zuckerberg said, "We have a responsibility to protect your data, and if we can't, then we don't deserve to serve you." You can understand why Facebook's publics might be a bit skeptical about what Zuckerberg and Facebook said. Facebook contacted only those affected, and the newspaper advertisements they did take out were focused on major centres of the US and the UK. This issue was a worldwide one. Although not everyone was affected, many felt their privacy was under attack. They should have addressed all customers on this data breach via their inboxes, direct email, and notifications. Some key messages that might have helped throughout the crisis could have been: "We are sorry we didn't stop Global Science Research and Cambridge Analytica from abusing the trust of you and our community sooner." This would apologise for not acting, while also demonstrating that Facebook was a partial victim. Mentioning Facebook's community would also seek to link Facebook with its users and underline the shared bond between the two. At the same time, it is important not to scapegoat the companies completely, although the apology might seem insincere. Another key message could have been, while Global Science Research and Cambridge Analytica hadn't acted out of good faith, we ultimately take full responsibility for their misuse of our community's data. This is again demonstrating Facebook was also a victim, yet demonstrating Facebook is not walking away, but accept their part in the problem. Another key message might have been, "We have already started to act to prevent this occurring again. We've banned these companies, we've prevented users' friends' data from being accessed without permission, and we've launched today a full audit to prevent the misuse of our community's data." This is about demonstrating that action is starting and that there is currently an ongoing audit to resolve the issue. Zuckerberg clearly has a history of privacy violations and apologising for them on behalf of Facebook. Because of this, he may not come across as genuine. Zuckerberg also lacks charisma, and as a shy individual, this can come across as he has something to hide. The company might well have benefited from having more spokespeople, and rather than having a centralized spokesperson, perhaps the company could have hired a vice president of privacy who could speak authoritatively on Facebook's behalf on these issues, who is also well trained in dealing with media and politicians. The company definitely could not withdraw from using Zuckerberg completely, as he is so linked to the brand, but it could have put more voices out there that were more charismatic. The best posture model would be a combination of the rebuilding posture and the bolstering posture. This communication strategy expresses sympathy while defending the organization's reputation. The denial posture or simply ignoring the issue simply would not work in this scenario, given the salient issues of the election of Trump, fake news, and the Russian trolls. Facebook could simply not bury this issue. The top priorities in dealing with this crisis would be: acknowledge the problem, establish the facts, don't leave a void for others to fill, launch the audit and make it known that it is taking place so that they be seen to be doing something. In other circumstances, sack the CEO. In this case, given Mark Zuckerberg's unique public profile, it is probably not useful to sack him. However, in other cases where there isn't this unique incident, it would have been worthwhile to sack the CEO given the repeated mistakes and the continued mishandling of the same issues. In summary, clearly Facebook was too slow to react. 5 days is far too long. This was not a new issue. They had things to say and good things about how they had already acted on some of these concerns years ago. Privacy is a natural issue for Facebook. They should have been well prepared. They could have noted that the companies involved acted without good faith and without completely trying to shift the blame and looking like they scapegoated the companies involved.